because this is the epitome of what you talk about, Yvonne. This is a group of grown-ass adults playing, like literally playing almost like children's games. Especially, I remember the first class at Improv 101 that I took. I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was criticizing and judging and saying, these are kids' games. Like, why are this feels silly? This doesn't feel right. And I was resistant. I mean, I was playing along, but mentally I was feeling resistant.
Yeah.
And by the end of that class, and as I continued through the next levels, I realized, yeah, so what? Like this is bringing me back to my roots, bringing me back to childhood. It's showing me that even as an adult, I can still play, and other adults want to play too, and we can have a lot of fun doing it.
What happens when a podcasting pro decides to be a beginner again on purpose? That's exactly what today's guest, Marc Ronick, did. After 2 decades in the podcast world, Marc signed up for improv classes to shake things up and discovered that, well, I think, from what I know of him, that he discovered that play just might be the secret sauce for confidence and creativity and deeper connection. We're going to find out more about that. And Marc and I met originally on a little app called Clubhouse, inside his really incredible community there, which is the podcasting morning chat community. It is also a genuine podcast that you can go to on any of your favorite podcast players and find the podcast morning chat. So go check it out. If you have any interest in podcasting, I'm sending you there. Today, we're digging into his personal journey. I want to talk about everything from showing up live every day in the community and doing a daily podcast. I want to talk about how he's built a community in midlife, and he produced a podcasting conference for the first time in his 50s. In the meantime, hello, welcome to Late Bloomer Living. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your resident age agitator and play instigator. And around here, we believe that midlife is an opportunity for shaking things up. So stick around. This episode right here is your permission slip to try the thing that scares you a little bit, because you just might discover that the next version of yourself is coming up just along the way. So without further ado, here's Marc Ronick. Marc, thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you, Yvonne. It's a long time coming. We've known each other for a few years, and I am thrilled to be a part of this show. And I know we'll get to the improv stuff, but I'll just, spoiler alert, I think you are a part of the reason why I ended up making myself go do that. Just from your content, seeing you playing all the time, listening and watching your show was absolutely part of that inspiration. So thank you.
You're blowing my mind. Thank you. I had no idea.
It's the honest truth.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, blew my mind. I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. Well, listen, you go live in Clubhouse every day. And how long has it been now since you decided, wait a minute, I think I could do this as a daily podcast and produce it as a podcast? How long has that been now?
I think we were doing it live only on Clubhouse for about 2 years. And I think it was year 2. Either year 2 or 3, I was at a podcasting conference called Podfest, and I was noticing, here I am, networking with people, telling people I'm a podcast producer, a coach, and I wasn't, but then they would say, oh, cool, what's your podcast? And I would say, I don't have a podcast right now. I've had plenty of podcasts over 20 years, but right now I don't. And I was starting to feel awkward about it, and I kind of stopped and looked at myself in the mirror, and I was like, you are doing a podcast. It's just not on a podcast platform. So why don't we just make sure we're recording these, maybe edit them a little bit, clean them up a little bit for a podcast audience and put them out there. And that's what I decided to do after that conference. So I think actually we're going to have our 2nd or 3rd year coming up here in the beginning of 2026.
That's incredible. One of the best parts of the podcast morning chat is the community that you've built.
Thanks.
It blows me away. Every now and again, you need to take a little time off because you're traveling or you've got something going on. And because you've built a community, you've got all these moderators that join you in the podcast morning chat they're official moderators, and there's the rest of us that show up to listen and learn.
Yeah.
And we participate in the conversation as well. And you have a lot of planning, from what I can tell, that happens with those people behind the scenes. And then when you need to step away, they step in sometimes and run the room, which is incredible. How did you build this community around yourself, Marc?
I'm asking myself that same question, and mainly because in January, I'm going to speak at PodFest, the conference I mentioned a moment ago, and it's all about building a community, even if you have a small podcast audience. And so I'm kind of going through these motions now of really identifying, how did I do this? Like, I don't, because a lot of it was organic, or at least just natural, where I don't even realize what I'm doing. I think one of the biggest things I could say off the top of my head is confidence, being a confident person and showing people that you're dedicated and passionate about what you're doing helps draw people in. They gravitate to that. It's a big lesson I'm learning through building my own conference too, is that people really want a leader, and you don't have to be this big time successful expert in any particular area. What they're really looking for is that confidence. They're looking for somebody who just is comfortable in their own skin and personable, somebody who is welcoming, right? So I think it's a little combination of all those ingredients that, at least to start, you've got to put all those things together if you want to grow a community of any size.
So, okay, I have a question for you about confidence, because a lot of people may lack confidence. And where do you find that you get that confidence from? Is it because you've been doing podcasting for so long, and so you're just confident with your topic? Is that what brings you the confidence?
I think that's a big yes. I think that's a big thing for everybody to hear loud and clear. I think the reason why I'm successful at building a community is because I'm talking about something that I'm passionate about. If you threw me in that same scenario and said, Marc, we're going to be talking about science today, lead the room, you're going to see a very unconfident person there leading the room. I wouldn't know what to say, what to do, where to go with it. But I've been podcasting for 20 years, so I'm just comfortable talking about it. And I think that whether it is confidence or not, it comes off that way as being very confident.
Yeah. So I'm gonna, I don't know, play devil's advocate here for a second, because yes, you are confident, but I don't come to your room because of your confidence. I know you're an expert. I know you have the know-how, and maybe that is some of the confidence, but I think what it really is that you run the room with a very generous spirit, allowing other people to contribute, and because you don't come off as like the guy expert kind of, I'm super confident. You have there's a generosity to what you bring to this community.
Thank you.
That is the difference for me.
Yeah, thank you for saying that.
I could go learn from other people, but if they're, just like, listen to me, I'm passing on my expertise from down on high or from up high, I probably wouldn't be there.
Yeah, and so I think without really thinking too much about it, I think that generosity that you mentioned, that's me being the way I would want a leader to be if I'm going to go listen to their podcast or be a part of their community.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, is there anything that's surprised you about building a community at this point in your life?
Well, playing off of the same word of generosity, it's been the generosity of the community. It's what they give back to me. And I think that's what I didn't expect coming in. When I started to build this particular community, a big reason, a big motivator behind it is to hopefully turn some of them into clients. So what surprised me is, like you mentioned, if I can't make it one morning for whatever the reason, I have people there that will step in for me and keep running the daily morning discussions. And I've had those same people from the same community want to help me build this conference. And all this time, 99% of them don't ask to be paid, don't want to be paid. They just want to help build the community. They love being a part of it, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to help it grow. So yeah, that's what really surprised me most, is just all of this generosity that I've received for putting on a podcast every day.
Do you ever just take a moment to take in the impact that you've had just by creating that space?
Not enough, but yes, but not enough. And I think really the most recent time of doing that was at the conclusion and during my conference that we did at the end of September.
Yeah.
That was where, because that's where I'm physically seeing what I've done come together. I'm seeing these people in person. I'm watching them interact with each other. I'm seeing the passion, the excitement, the enthusiasm. And there were multiple times that weekend that I just would stop and look around and be like, I did that? Like, wow. Like, I'm feeling a little emotional even telling you about it. Like, it's mind-blowing to witness something that, when you're doing it every day for an hour a day in the morning and you have 20, 30 people joining you, it's awesome. And you can't really grasp what that looks like until you're actually seeing it in person. And, we had 3-4 times the amount of that, 5 times the amount of that at that conference. So it was truly mind-blowing.
Yeah. I witnessed it.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to the first conference, but I did get to go to the second one, and I saw all of that happening. And especially on the second day, I saw you relax into being able to take in some of those moments. I want to come back to the conference later and what it's been like to start that, but I want to take a little detour for a moment into improv land.
Yeah.
What got you going there? I want to know, first of all, what made you decide improv? Yeah, that's the next step for me.
I love improv. I am a fan of, and I know the true improv people don't love this as much, but I'm a true fan of that TV show, Whose Line Is It Anyway?
I do too.
I've been a fan for probably decades, I think, because of reruns and stuff. It's always been on. And I always would watch it and think to myself, like, I could do that. Like, or at least think, like, sometimes I'd come up with something funny when I'm playing along watching, and I'd encourage myself, that could be something you could do. I could see myself do that. And for years, never even thought about really actually taking that next step. But over the past couple years, I've been going through my own personal journey and really working to rediscover who I am. And being that I do a live show every single day, and being that I wasn't quite ready to commit to something like, say, a Toastmasters, I wanted to find something that would help me improve upon what I've already learned through the years in podcasting, and just be able to loosen up on the show, be able to think quicker on my feet. So again, I went into it with a very professionally driven reason, like, because I thought this was all about going to help me professionally. And what I quickly started to learn was how much it was helping me personally, because this is the epitome of what you talk about, Yvonne. This is a group of grown-ass adults playing, like literally playing almost like children's games. Especially, I remember the first class at Improv 101 that I took, and we do some warm-ups before we really get into the main stuff. And these warm-up games, we played, like, by the second game, and I can't even remember what they were, but I was sitting there thinking to myself, I was criticizing and judging and saying, these are kids' games. Like, why this feels silly. This doesn't feel right. And I was resistant. I mean, I was playing along, but mentally I was feeling resistant.
Yeah.
And by the end of that class, and as I continued through the next levels, I realized, yeah, so what? Like, this is bringing me back to my roots. It's bringing me back to childhood. It's showing me that even as an adult, I can still play, and other adults want to play too, and we can have a lot of fun doing it. So I think those are that was the reason, and then there were some other reasons I didn't even know that came through by doing it.
Yeah. So how did it feel, just that moment that you were walking into that first class?
Yeah.
Take me back to that. What did that feel like?
Yeah, you know what, Yvonne? I was terrified. I remember actually, and I'm glad you asked me because I've almost forgotten it. I remember a few days leading up to it and the day of that first class, I was starting to feel like I was chickening it out. I remember even telling my wife, Amy, I don't know, like, I don't think I want to do this. I don't think I want to do it that badly. It doesn't feel good right now. And I forced myself anyway. Because of all my personal development work, I've come to learn that usually the things we're most resistant to deliver the biggest rewards. So I pushed myself regardless, and went and have been doing it pretty much ever since.
Kudos to you, because I just have to say, improv is terrifying.
It can be, yeah.
I'm saying that as somebody who has, a background in theater. I've played a lot of improv games and things like that for, warm-ups and stuff when you're getting ready. It's a very much a community building thing to do when you're getting to know each other at the beginning of a new production. It's a great way to warm up before you head into a rehearsal.
Sure.
That kind of improv I'm completely comfortable with.
Yeah.
But that performance level improv that I imagine they were leading you to in this class,
Yeah.
that is terrifying. My husband's really good at that stuff, and
yeah.
I'm a girl
I'm not,
who
by the
likes
way.
a script.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. And I am not that good at it. At least, I mean, I certainly have my moments here and there, but it is still challenging. I'm up to level 202 now, and the 200 levels are all long form improv, right? So what we see on that TV show, Whose Line Is It Anyway, those are short form improv games. And the long form is just that. It's like similar games, but much longer periods of time. And that has been really challenging for me. But I think what I'm starting to learn is it's not the challenge. It's actually just that I gravitate more to the short form than the long.
Yeah, gotcha. So one of the things, speaking as somebody who has done a little bit of improv, I feel like there's a pressure that you can feel coming into an improv, to doing an improv, where you want to be funny. You want to be on like the
Yes.
whose line is it anyway?
Yes.
Have you been finding that you're getting some freedom around not needing to be funny?
Yes, I am. And here's the thing. I feel, my friends will tell you, I'm a pretty funny guy, and I found it really challenging to be funny doing improv. And that was the biggest lesson that they taught right out of the gate, is it's not about trying to be funny. It's about just going with that first thought, embracing it, be confident with it. Doesn't matter if it works or not, just do it. And oftentimes the funniest parts is when it doesn't work, when it wasn't really meant to be funny, but that's the humor of it all. So it really did teach me how to relax and loosen up in that regard.
Yeah, so mission accomplished,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
that's what you were looking for from the beginning.
Exactly.
Was there a moment in improv that when you realized that something had shifted for you?
Yeah.
Either in your business or personally, or both?
Recently, I was feeling frustrated about improv. I was feeling like I'm not getting it. I'm not advancing. I'm not improving. And I ended up talking with the woman who owns the company. It's called Misfit Improv. And I was telling her, and I don't want to say I was close to quitting, but I was certainly kind of heading in that direction. And she gave me a lot of great advice, but really where I saw this was working for me was at my conference. And we actually hosted an improv workshop, me and a friend of mine. And even before that, though, when I was giving some opening remarks, this was my full welcome speech. I had found that the moments that I got the biggest laughs were the moments that I didn't plan, the moments that I didn't think about ahead of time. They were just the moments that just came to me, and I just said them, and the crowd would go crazy. The planned jokes, there were only one or two that actually got big laughs. The rest of them got some giggles here and there. So that was that huge lesson for me is, you know what? Just go with what your thoughts are. Stop worrying so much about planning and just see what happens. And most of the time, it seems to work out for me.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Has improv changed the way that you show up on the mic?
I think it has. And it's just one of those things. And again, I was talking to my wife about this. I have to actually really go back and listen to hear for that, because when I do our morning shows, I really get into that flow. I get into the zone. And when I go back and maybe, make some clips from the show for social media, there are times I watch it and I'm questioning, like, did I said that? Like my mind just turns off from the day to day and just goes all in on the podcasting morning chat. And it's just, by the end, it's like, okay, so how did that go? I don't even realize it half the time. But yes, I think ultimately it does help me think quicker on my feet during the show.
Yeah. What's one improv exercise or a mindset shift that you think every podcaster should try?
Well, I wouldn't give one particular type of game. I would just say they should all try improv at least once, because I think it will not only help them with their podcasting, I think that it'll help them in life. And I don't care what age you are. I think any adult could benefit from at least trying it.
Yeah, you're making me want to go find a class. Do you feel like improv is giving you permission to surprise yourself again?
Yeah, well, yeah, because I really felt like over the past several years, really since I started my business almost 6 years ago or so, I was finding that I had really kind of lost that playful side of me and started buying into that hustle culture. And really that was though my way of life for these past handful of years. And it's really taken its toll on me, especially this past year. You know this. I know your audience doesn't, but I have ADHD, and I've had a couple of ADHD moments today with you, just forgetting what I wanted to say. But the struggle was once I had to get off that medication because my blood pressure was through the roof, and we suspected that could have been the cause, was the medication I was taking. So that didn't work well with hustle culture anymore, because I didn't have that same hustle. It's not that I had no hustle, but I didn't have the same hustle that I had when I was on Adderall. And this whole year has been a journey, or just a roller coaster ride for me, because here I was doing a daily morning show. I had a business to run where I'm producing podcasts, coaching podcasters, and I'm putting on a conference for 120 people. I was way over my head. And if you can't...
My whole body is clenching just hearing all that, Marc.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the improv was great because it gave me an outlet that I needed while I was going through this transition. So yeah, I think that's, I hope that answers your question. I think that was really, so yes, it's helped a lot, especially during a really tough year that I've had this year.
Yeah. I'm excited for you. I know this sounds weird, but I'm excited for you to be going through this part of your journey, to learn how to navigate the ADHD without meds. I imagine that's a huge challenge.
It is.
And whenever we are faced with something like that, that's a huge challenge. There's also like this huge opportunity for learning about ourselves in there too. So
yeah,
that's, easy for me to say, but
no, I totally hear that. And I think that's what keeps me going. I think because I subscribe to that same message, and it's probably why I haven't just thrown in the towel and said, you know what, I'm just going to go back on this medication. Maybe I'll just take a lighter or lower dosage. Maybe that'll be good. Or I'll get on a different medication. I'd rather not put medication in my body personally if I don't have to. So yeah, and I agree with you. I think that as I go through this, there's going to be a lot of growth and a lot of lessons to be learned for sure.
Yeah.
And already have been growing and learning.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. I bet. So let's talk about the conference.
Yeah.
So you produced it for the first time when you turned 50. Actually, before we talk about the conference, I also just want to say that it's interesting to me that this came up for you with the medication and the high blood pressure, you know, in your 50s, and it is a part of aging. Those are like that's stuff that happens for us when we get
Yeah.
older, that's real, right? Like
Yeah.
we have new physical challenges,
Yep.
and how we choose to meet those challenges is key, I think, to how we're going to grow beyond them. And, it could be something different for somebody else, but, we can get down on ourselves and down on the fact that, oh, I'm getting old and all that, and just, I guess, give in and
Yeah.
say, oh, it's just part of getting old. I'm seeing you push through it to
hmm
get to another version of yourself.
Yes. And thank you for noticing and saying that. And it really, I just want to make it clear, it is really challenging. And I have had some real low moments this year trying to navigate all of this. But yes, I am totally with you there. I totally agree.
Yeah. Okay, so now I want to get to
Okay.
the conference.
Okay.
So you've done it for 2 years in a row now. What was going on for you that you said, I feel like I need to do this?
Well, for one, my love for community. And I think, we were doing the podcasting morning chat just on Clubhouse, as we shared earlier. And that was all post COVID. And people were still at that phase. We're still kind of clamoring for like real person stuff. We've been cooped up for too long. And so every so often people would start coming to me, Mark, we should do something in person. We should do something in person. And simultaneously, I had been attending different podcast conferences, and I always kind of felt a little bit like the odd man out at these conferences. No fault of the conferences. It's probably more just a mind game than anything else for me. But whatever reason, I just didn't quite feel like I belonged. And so kind of combined those two things. And I said, fine, I'll just do it myself, and I'll create my own thing where I really, truly feel like I belong. So that was the real motivation, those two things combined. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you want to do to make this conference unique?
I think ultimately that was just a huge emphasis on the community aspect. This wasn't going to be, in my mind, I did not want it to be more of a typical conference where oftentimes you attend these and then there are, there's a showroom or a floor of all different vendors, and people can go kind of schmooze and meet the different vendors and see the different products and services. I didn't want that because to me, it doesn't feel like it's welcoming for a community. You can't really connect with the other community members as much that way. I wanted to create something where people really felt like they belonged and had opportunities to not just meet people, but maybe meet clients, maybe meet collaborators, maybe future co-hosts, who knows? But I just wanted to create a space where people felt like they belonged, that they were comfortable, and that there was opportunity for them. And I know all these conferences, at least the ones I've seen and heard, I think they try and they go for that kind of thing, but I think that we did it. I think we followed through with that and we're able to execute that.
I will say, yes, you did.
Yeah.
Mission
Cool.
accomplished, having
Thanks.
been there. Are there any moments where your inner critic got loud or you were really doubting?
Well, leading up to it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, and I think part of that was the struggle with the ADHD and not being on medication and being able to manage that among all my other responsibilities personally and professionally. That is for sure. And there's another part that, and I want to let me think about that for a second. Oh, the other struggle was the fact that I had a really hard time year 2 compared to year 1. Year 1 was smooth sailing. I mean, we didn't make money that year, but we basically broke even, but we had all sorts of sponsors. The ticket sales were moving along enough. There was a little struggle trying to get ticket sales, but it all worked out. And just everything felt like it was flowing very well on that first year. The second year was like the opposite. It almost feels like year 2 should have been year 1 and vice versa because of that struggle. I couldn't get sponsors to commit. I got very few in comparison to the year before. I couldn't get people to buy tickets until the last literally 4 weeks of the conference.
One of the hardest things about hosting an event, right?
It's so challenging.
My God, especially when it's a physical event and you've got to put down deposits, right? For space.
Yes.
And make commitments. Oh my gosh, I can only imagine the stress you were under.
It was extremely stressful. I mean, again, those ticket sales didn't really start. We only had about 20 tickets sold with about 6 weeks or less to go before the event. I mean, there were multiple times I wanted to cancel it. I would sit there at the kitchen table with my head in my hands telling Amy, I don't think I can do this. How can I put on this conference and the 20 people that show up and see there's just 20 people there, no sponsors, no nothing. I was picturing the worst. And instead of actually just focusing on how can I fix this, how can I make this better, but luckily I finally got there and we did have a turn and things did start working out, unfortunately last minute, but nonetheless it worked out and we had a successful event. Didn't make money yet again, but it was still, in my opinion, successful because of the amazing feedback we got. I mean, we didn't get a single negative review from that thing. We had maybe a couple of constructive criticisms here and there, but ultimately far and wide, I mean, it was a tremendous success for the attendees.
Yeah. I have to tell you, attending the conference shifted some things for me. When you were talking about that sense of going to those other conferences that you went to and not feeling like you've belonged, I remember going to like a photographer's conference many years ago. I think it was Adobe sponsored or something. And I went and I just felt like such a newbie. It felt huge. I think I talked to one person. There was no sense of community at all. It felt competitive. And every other networking event I've ever been to in my life has felt, I don't know, a little icky, a little transactional, that feeling of, you could just feel the desperation coming off people, like, oh, let me hand you my business card, my business card, my business card. And there was none of that at this event. Yeah. And I remember when after day 1 felt great and day 2 was coming up for the conference, and I started to go into some of my self-talk about I don't belong here or whatever. And I shifted that around as I went in, and I was like, other people probably feel this way too. What if you just go into this conference today and try to make everybody else feel comfortable and try to engage somebody else so that they're not feeling this same way. But I felt like everybody was doing that at this conference. It just felt very communal, and I feel like I made good connections with so many people there. So coming back from that conference, I ended up signing up for a local networking event for women's business development around here in Connecticut. And I was just like, take what you learned from being at Empowered Podcasting Conference, Yvonne. Just show up and try to connect with somebody in a real way and make them comfortable. So it's led to a whole series of events. It also has led to me being invited to speak and do photos for another conference, and because of somebody I met at Empowered Podcasting. Okay. By the way, they had a conversation, and it was a referral type thing. And so I can't recommend it highly enough for anybody, especially if you're a new podcaster, I think. Yeah. Because it's a smaller conference, and it felt very welcoming, and it felt like no matter what level you were at as a podcaster, I felt like I could talk to any of the speakers who were there. I didn't feel a huge separation between anybody who was there to present versus somebody who was there to watch. And I felt like there was a real crossbreeding
Yeah.
of all that.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
yeah.
with you there. Yeah, for sure. And look, I receive all that, and I appreciate what you're saying and what that conference did for you. And I think it did that for a lot of people. And I think that part of what makes a community work, or at least what makes my communities work, is having the online presence first. And I say that because, Yvonne, you walked into that conference knowing at least 5 to 10 people, right?
Yeah.
So you're instantly part of a community that you've already been a part of. So that's definitely a tip, a suggestion that in my presentation at Podfest that I'm going to talk about is build and nurture the community first online. Do some live events. It doesn't have to be like what I do every single morning, but do some regular live online events so that people can start to get to know each other and start to connect and bond. And then they're going to want to take that to another level. They're going to want to start the in-person stuff. And that's what makes a community feel special at those in-person events, is because you've got these people there already showing the love and passion and excitement, seeing one another. And then if you're building the right kind of community, they're welcoming in all these new faces and excited to see that their community is growing and there's all these new people here and they're welcoming them in. That's what makes, for me, that's been my success in building community.
100%. Oh, everything you just said, I'm backing that up with my experience. Cool. It's one of the reasons that I love coming to the podcast morning chat in Clubhouse specifically, rather than listening to it on a podcast catcher, because it's a shortcut way to get to know people.
Yep.
I host a room every Wednesday, and it's 5 or 6 of us who show up regularly, and a few people drop in here and there.
Yeah.
And it's small, but it's intimate. And when I go into a new space, hearing somebody's voice and hearing somebody speak on the fly, that tells you worlds about who that person is and whether or not you want to continue to interact with them.
As opposed to the polished version on the podcast, either prepared questions and answers and editing and all that kind of stuff. Yep.
Or their Instagram feed or their Facebook feed, where you're getting to see their curated version of themselves, know. And there is something really powerful about hosting community events like I do in Zoom. That gave me the confidence to apply to be a speaker for your conference. Even though it's kind of outside my wheelhouse, I had to think about, what can I, as late bloomer living girl, age agitator, bring to podcasters that would be, I had to put on a podcaster hat in that arena. But it was a great exercise to go through. And
I'm glad.
Knowing you and knowing the community gave me the confidence to do that.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And those moments, like what you just shared with me, these are other moments that I wouldn't say always surprise me, but always take it. I take a step back and just receive it, because I forget sometimes how many people are affected by the things that we've built, and it means the world to me. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Okay.
I saw an energetic shift in you from Friday to Saturday.
Interesting. Okay.
And I want to know, standing there on Friday, what were you feeling? Standing there on Saturday, what were you feeling?
Yeah, I think what maybe you noticed, Friday were kind of the jitters, right? Because that was the first day. And it was also from the first conference to the second, it was also an additional day that we added. We only did a 1-day event the previous year. So I think on Friday, those were not just kind of first day jitters, but it was also, is anyone going to show up, right? Because I didn't know if people were we tried to make it very clear, we're starting all sorts of stuff, starting at whatever it was, 12:30, 1 o'clock. But I didn't know, would people be traveling still on Friday? Would they not be there in time and miss the whole thing? And then what are the speakers going to think if we don't really have enough people to fill the room? And so I think that's probably what you were seeing, because then by Saturday, I knew we had people. I knew that they all showed up, and Friday went so well that it gave me the confidence that Saturday was going to go just as well, if not better. I think it was because I needed to get through a little bit of Friday, loosen up, see that it all came together. And that gave me permission to have a little more fun the next day.
Yeah. Okay, so you've had a long career in podcasting. Why
Yeah.
keep reinventing right now?
Why keep reinventing right now? Well, how are we defining reinventing and podcasting specifically?
So, improv and producing
Yeah.
a conference around podcasting. Those are two huge growth areas
Yeah.
from where I'm standing.
Yeah. I think that's just it. I think I just feel I have this desire to constantly grow, and sometimes I forget about it and I get a little stagnant. And then I get this, and I can't, sometimes it takes me a minute or two to realize like there's just this icky feeling I have, like nothing's going on, nothing's moving. I'm feeling bored. I'm feeling lousy about myself. And a lot of times when I'm getting those feelings, it's because I'm not pushing forward. I'm not trying new things. And so that's when I get a big inspiration to go try something new like improv.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that midlife in particular is a really big opportunity to put ourselves in a position of a very uncomfortable position of being a beginner
Yeah.
at a time in our life when we kind of want to look like we got it all figured out.
Yes.
So, how do you stay curious about things and resist the urge to play it safe and stay in your lane and stay in that zone where, yeah, I got this covered?
I don't know. Wow. That's a great question. Can you reframe it for me or rephrase it just because I need something to help me?
Do you feel like, so question number one, let's break it down.
Yeah.
Do you like to put yourself in a position where you're a beginner in
No,
general?
I don't. I
So,
don't. I mean, I do once I go through it, but I don't because there's this vulnerability that I have about it. Being, especially, at least this is the story I tell myself, especially being somebody who is in that spotlight as knowing things and as a leader. And I I don't like how I feel when I'm on the other side of it. I feel like it's showing that I have these weaknesses that people will see, and then maybe they won't respect me in my other areas where I do have a wealth of knowledge to share with people. I know that's just a story I'm telling myself, and it always seems to pop up, and then it's just a matter of having to talk myself through it and get to the other side of it.
yeah. So what have you done I mean, you've done two huge things, improv and running a brand new podcasting conference.
Yeah.
So what did you do to push through that thing where you had to be a beginner and maybe you weren't going to be so good at this to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, with the improv, I recognized that for the first one, I'm going into a 101 class. So the chances are everybody's going to kind of be in a similar position as me.
Yeah.
So that was helpful enough. And again, like I told you, I mean, the day of, I was ready to back out. So like it was a struggle to get there, but I think that's what it all comes down to. And then the conference, I think that comes down to just recognizing the passion is stronger than the fear.
Mhm. I
That's
love that.
that's the big thing. And it's not even actually necessarily even recognizing it. It's just that's what it is. It's that the passion is bigger than the fear. And I think if we can get into that spot, the fear is secondary now. It just doesn't, it's there and you know it's there, but that passion is what's really driving you forward.
I love that you said that. That is so on target for me. Like doing this podcast has changed my life because I've had to get out of my own way so many times because of the passion for what I'm talking about. And because it's bigger than me, it's bigger than my fears. My urge to do this is just stronger than the fears that I have around not being good enough or qualified to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're thinking of doing next that you might be a beginner
Hmm.
at?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Well, I know I'm putting on the third conference now, and I've actually brought in officially a couple of business partners to work with me on it. So that's just
Mm-hmm.
going to feel and look a little different now for year 3. And I'm really excited about the potential of all of that. So that's one. And I think 2026 is going to be more about a year for me of, I mean, I'll always be incorporating new things. And it's also going to be about rebuilding things, because 2025, as I've shared, is a transition. So now I feel like I'm at a point where I've kind of knocked all the bricks down, and now I've got to reassemble them in a new way. And so, like, things like my morning show, the podcasting morning chat, it's time to kind of take it up to another level. It will always be a community first project, and I also want it to help me financially. Right. So I want to try to start really monetizing it other than getting business, because that is the primary source of how I get business through that show. But I want to start looking at other ways to really monetize it, and also put it even more so on the map in the podcasting industry, and make it something that people know about and know there's this place that they can go for community and for support.
Fantastic. I love it. So for somebody listening right now who is looking for an up level, like you're talking about right now, or they want to do something brand new and they're afraid to take that first step towards it, what do you think is one tiny action that a person could take today?
I think that is you just said it. It's just taking one tiny action. And that's the thing for me that I often forget until I put it into motion. Being somebody with ADHD, sometimes the things that we don't want to do, we just don't do it. It doesn't matter what you say, what tricks and tips you have for us, we just don't do it. But what happens is that I just sit down, for example, at my computer and just do one little thing, even if it's not necessarily going toward the thing, but it's just something in the wheelhouse. If it's something for my business, for example, right? Maybe it's I've got to pay bills or something like that. Just opening up the online banking, right? Just opening that up and maybe just looking at something else that is not related to the bills. Just firing it up helps your brain start to get into the right mode. So really, it's just take any tiny step toward it, and I think you can start to build momentum from there, sometimes, at least for me, without even knowing it.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a couple of quick rapid fire questions for you. Okay?
Yep.
Never done this before. I'm kind of excited. What is an improv rule that you feel or think applies to life?
Stop overthinking it.
Oh,
yeah.
I like that. Coffee or tea during the morning chat?
Coffee.
Excellent.
Yes.
Coffee is life.
I love tea, but coffee is just my go-to.
All right. And a podcast everyone should listen to besides yours?
If you want to laugh, the Pete and Sebastian show. Sebastian Maniscalco, the stand-up comedian, he's pretty hot right now. It's just two Italian guys, Italian Americans. It's kind of Seinfeld-esque, because that's what comedians are. They just observe and notice the crazy things that the rest of us don't really notice or say out loud. And that's what that show's all about. So anytime I need to just break away from seriousness, that's the podcast that I go to.
Okay, knowing you're a Star Wars fan, I have one more rapid fire question
and
for you.
Star Wars Theory is the other one podcast that I would recommend.
Oh, for me personally, I like that.
Yes.
As a fellow Star Wars geek, which of the series of Star Wars films is top for you?
It's probably Empire Strikes Back.
Me too.
Yes, and I think that's the common answer for most Star Wars geeks. I would, and the original trilogy would be, the top 3 for me.
Yeah.
But I love all the movies, even the sequel series wasn't the best of the 3 series. But I love Star Wars, and I will accept it for whatever it is.
I'm always sending you Star Wars memes.
Yes, I love that.
So, where can people find you?
I just realized as you were asking me this question that I don't think we ever said the name. Maybe we did once or twice, but so this is a good opportunity. Yeah, it's called Empowered Podcasting, and you can The best way to find it, I think, and to find the podcasting morning chat and everything else that I'm up to is just to go to ironicmedia.com. That's the name of my company, and it's a play off of my last name. So you spell it IRONICK, ironicmedia.com, and that'll show you everything I'm up to, including our weekly newsletters if you want to sign up for that. I think that's probably the best place for people to go.
Perfect. And I will have links in the show notes.
Cool.
Absolutely. So we'll be able to send people there. Thank you, Marc, for being with me today.
Yvonne, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on your show. I love, love, love what you do. Whether it's your podcast, your social media, I love that you provoke us older people to stay young, because we are young at heart, and there's no reason not to continue to be young. And I am going through right now, again, some personal development stuff and doing a lot of somatic work right now to really get in touch with myself and my younger self. I think the moment that we can all stop and really reconnect with who we are, where we were as kids, I think that helps start getting us comfortable continuing to be kids. Now, I think we get so wrapped up in the day-to-day being adults that we forget, but we always have permission to be silly. We always have permission to be fun. And in fact, that's what probably attracts people to us, is when we can be silly and can be fun. So that I encourage people to just do that.
I can only hope so, Marc. And I want to have a whole other conversation with you about the somatic work that you're doing. And for anybody who doesn't know what somatic work is, it's like a body work kind of thing. It's working with your body to get to the sense of who you are. And it's something that I am also looking into exploring and playing around with a little bit. So you and I will have to have an offline conversation.
Yeah, well, I'll just
that.
quickly say, I'm a person who's just always in my head so much and never connecting with my body. That what I'm starting to learn after several sessions of this is that the more I do connect with my body, the more answers I get, right? My body and my brain connect, they speak, and I get the answers that I'm otherwise racking my brain trying to figure out.
The body is so much smarter than maybe even the brain, really. And the connections are there. There's science for that. So huge. Oh my gosh, I feel like we could have a whole other conversation.
Well, I'll come back anytime.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Marc.
And thank you, Yvonne, for all you do.
I love how Marc reminds us that growth doesn't stop just because we hit a certain age. Sometimes the coolest parts of our story, they haven't even happened yet. So listen, if you're feeling that little spark, if you're feeling a little bit of inspiration from this conversation, or that nudge towards trying something playful and new, I would love to support you as you follow that spark. You can join the wait list for the Play Shop at latebloomerliving.com/play. And what we're going to do there is help you shake off the seriousness and rediscover what makes you feel alive, and give yourself that permission that Marc was talking about to play, because sometimes that's the missing ingredient, is the permission. So head over to latebloomerliving.com/play to get on the list, and you'll be the first to know when the doors open again. Until next time, stay curious, stay playful, and bloom like you mean it.